January 1914. A figure stood before me in my vision, an old man with bull's horns and wings of a kingfisher. He opened his mouth and said something that made me literally jump back in my chair, not because it was frightening, but because I could have never ever imagined those words myself. This was Philemon, and he had just proven to me the most crucial principle of active imagination, the principle that separates genuine contact with the unconscious from mere fantasy. Today, I teach you how to know with absolute certainty when you're encountering real autonomous psychic content versus when your ego is just playing dress up with your imagination. You see, my friends, this was my greatest struggle in those early years. How could I know if these visions were real psychological phenomena or just elaborate daydreams? The answer came through what I call the surprise principle. As I wrote in my journal, Philemon and other figures of my fantasies brought home to me the crucial insight that there are things in the psyche which I do not produce, but which produce themselves and have their own life. Their own life. Let me share something I rarely told even my closest students. In February 1914, Philemon said to me, "You treat your thoughts as if you generated them yourself, but thoughts are like animals in the forest or people in a room. If you saw people in a room, you would not think that you had made those people." I had never thought this, never read it anywhere. It contradicted everything I believed about the mind. That's when I knew this wasn't coming from me. Now, there are 5 signs that you're experiencing genuine active imagination, not fantasy. First surprise. The figures say or do things that genuinely shock you. Second resistance. They refuse your suggestions. You cannot control them. Third consistency. They maintain their own personality across sessions. Fourth teaching. They know things you don't know and can prove it. Fifth autonomy. They appear when they want, not when you summon them. But here's what most people don't understand. The ego desperately wants to maintain control, so it will try to fake these experiences. It will create puppet shows, elaborate fantasies that feel meaningful, but are really just you talking to yourself in costume. I spent months learning to distinguish between the two. And I discovered a simple test that reveals the truth immediately. Try to make the figure do something specific. Anything. Raise their hand, turn around, leave the scene. If it's genuine active imagination, they'll refuse or do something completely different or lecture you about your need for control. As I noted, I observed clearly that it was they who spoke, not I. Shall we test this together? Today's exercise might frustrate you. Good. Frustration means you're meeting something real. Sit comfortably. Close your eyes. Find your threshold state, that 35% consciousness we've practiced. Now use yesterday's descent. Let the ground open. Drop down. Find yourself in that underground space again. Look around. Now here's the crucial part. Don't create anyone. Don't imagine a figure. Instead, wait. Look into the shadows or down a passage or behind a rock. Wait for movement that you don't cause. This might take time. Real active imagination requires patience. Keep waiting. If nothing comes, that's authentic too. The unconscious doesn't perform on command. But perhaps you notice something. A shadow shifts. A figure emerges. Or maybe just a presence you sense. If something appears, now comes the test. Try to make it come closer. Will it to approach you? What happens? Does it obey? Then it might be your creation. Does it ignore you? Do something else? Or even move away? That's the surprise. That's the autonomy. If a figure is present, try to see its face clearly. Can you control what it looks like? Or does it have its own appearance? Now, if you feel brave, ask it a question. Something simple. Who are you? Or why are you here? Listen, not for what you expect, but for what surprises you. Now, whether something came or not, begin to return, feel your breath, your body in the chair. Let the vision fade naturally. Open your eyes. Write down everything, especially if nothing happened. You see the unconscious tests you too. Sometimes it withholds contact to see if you're serious, if you'll persist, if you can handle frustration without forcing. I once waited 17 sessions before Philemon first appeared. 17. But when he came, he taught me things that revolutionized psychology. Here's what's actually happening. When you experience genuine surprise and active imagination, you're proving that the psyche has autonomous layers, that consciousness isn't singular but multiple, that within you live independent centers of awareness. This isn't mysticism, it's empirical observation of psychological phenomena. As I wrote, I was sitting opposite my own interior processes. Tomorrow we learn the non-interference protocol, what to do when figures become too intense, too real, when they begin affecting your daily life. Because once you've proven they're autonomous, you must learn to coexist with them, not control them, not obey them, but negotiate. Until tomorrow, pay attention. The surprise principle works in daily life too. When a thought appears that you didn't think, when an emotion arises you didn't create, you're glimpsing the autonomous psyche, and it's always, always surprising.